What's up, y'all? My name is JR, and for those of you who don't already know, I'm a huge movie and TV nerd. If you're new here, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my channel. I hope you consider sticking around and joining the film community I'm trying to build here on YouTube. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving my reaction and review of Season 4 of the Netflix drama series, The Lincoln Lawyer. And just so you guys know, this video will contain spoilers, so if you haven't gotten around to watching this season of the series yet, and you don't want to know anything that happens in it, you might want to exit this video now. And with that being said, no more wasting time. Let's get into it. The Lincoln Lawyer is an American-made legal drama television series created for television by David E. Kelley and developed by Ted Humphrey, based on the books of Michael Connelly. The series stars Manuel Garcia-Rulfo as Mickey Holler, a defense attorney in Los Angeles who often works out of a chauffeur-driven Lincoln Navigator. Nev Campbell, Becky Newton, Jazz Raicoli, Krista Warner, and Angus Sampson also star. There are also some prominent actors who appear this season, including Constance Zimmer, Sasha Alexander, Emmanuel Tricky, and Kobe Smulders. Now, the first season of this show is based on Connelly's 2008 novel, The Brass Verdict, a sequel to his novel, The Lincoln Lawyer. It premiered on Netflix on May 13th of 2022 and received generally positive reviews from critics. In June of 2022, the series was renewed for a second season, and it is based upon Connelly's 2011 novel, The Fifth Witness, and it's streamed in two parts. The first part was released on July 6th of 2023, and the second part released on August 3rd. In August of 2023, the series was renewed for a third season, based on Connelly's 2013 novel, The Gods of Guilt, and was released on October 17th of 2024. In January of 2025, the series was renewed for a fourth season, which will be based on the sixth book in the series, The Law of Innocence. And in January of 2026, the series was renewed for a fifth season, which will be based on the seventh book in the series, Resurrection Walk. Now, at the time of the making of this video, the series as a whole has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, with its popcorn meter currently sitting at 85%. The series has a Metascore of 64 on Metacritic based on 29 critic reviews, with a user score of 6.5 based on 73 user ratings. And finally, the series has a 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb, with over 80,000 ratings. Now, in my opinion, the show, at least to this point, has been a pretty good mid-budget streamer series. I think so far, despite being a tad bit predictable where the big plot points are concerned, I think it's at least done a fairly good job of moving, especially the supporting characters, across the board, so to speak, towards some sort of end goal that makes some sort of sense, given who we've seen them to be as people. And when I saw that Season 4 was being released, I was fairly excited to spend the day seeing exactly how Mickey would get out of the situation that he found himself in the Season 3 finale. That being him being arrested for having murdered one of his former clients, a former client who had accrued deep arrears with him, not being able to pay him for his legal services. Now, whereas Season 4 is concerned, I actually like the fact that Mickey started this season locked up, as he and his team tried to figure out how they were going to fight the murder charge he caught, again, after the police stopped at the end of last season. And I thought this was a nice change of pace for a story that, again, in my opinion, had gotten a bit too predictable. Because, we've just kind of gotten used to, someone shows up on at Mickey's office or needing his help somehow. He spends the season defending them. He wins the case. Rinse and repeat. That's kind of been what we've gotten to this point in the series. And so having him start now with his own feet in the fire, having to figure out how to defend himself, especially from behind bars, I found to be a breath of fresh air and a nice change of pace. I also thought that Mickey's incarceration forced Lorna to step her game up as a litigator, which I thought was good for her character's overall series arc. At the beginning of this story, she's just kind of someone who's helping Mickey out, and then you find out that she was in law school, but that she never finished. She's Mickey's ex-wife. She's dating Cisco, his investigator. And so she's come quite a long way here, but here she really gets to, put her feet to the fire and see, now that she's passed the bar, she's an actual attorney now working at Mickey Holler's office, but as an actual lawyer now, to see her kind of spread her wings and take on this big case, because she's trying to show what she's got as a litigator, but also she's trying to defend her ex-husband and a man she still deeply cares about. I thought that was spot on for her character right at around this point in the story. But when Dana Berg, played by Constance Zimmer, who I've loved as an actor since she played Dana Gordon in one of my favorite TV shows, Entourage, a ruthless prosecutor known for her scorched earth tactics, is inserted as the prosecutor, and this season's main antagonist, Lorna, ultimately realizing that she's outmatched, is forced to step down as Mickey's counsel. And at first, I was like, oh man, I was kind of disappointed. But what happened next, I thought was for the best, what was best for the overall show, and that being that the decision, the narrative decision, makes room for Maggie to kind of come to the rescue, essentially switching sides. Going from being a prosecutor to a defense attorney in an effort to defend her ex-husband for the good of their family, which was a bit of a pleasant surprise because, one, Maggie had kind of been on the sidelines for a little while in this story, especially since she had moved from L.A. to San Diego. So, she was kind of in the background, kind of felt not heard. And I like that she was kind of able to be brought back to the forefront here, because I do think that what makes this show, the heart of this show, is Mickey's family. That's what makes it more than just some kind of legal procedural. And this kind of gives me hope because it lets me know that the writers may yet still have plans for Mickey and Maggie to be in game. Even though right now Maggie's dating this guy who's getting divorced, I don't see that as being, the guy she ends up with. And as Haley, their daughter, who currently spends most of her time in San Diego living with her mother, per her wardrobe in an episode here in this season, is potentially planning to move back to L.A., possibly to attend USC. And speaking of Haley, I didn't necessarily love that the writers basically sent her to Mexico to spend time with her abuela, essentially removing the character from the overwhelming majority of the season, with her only appearing at the beginning when she goes to visit her father in the clink, and you see that she can't handle it, and also she's being bullied online by people, and then she shows up at the very end after everything's kind of settled. And this was disappointing because I think the writers missed an opportunity here to show her have to kind of grow up and deal with her father being vilified by her peers at school and by society at large on social media. I think it was a really, really big chance to see Haley kind of grow as a character, kind of watching her kind of go through the trials and tribulations of having a father that was on trial for murder, especially, a father that was a lawyer that was on trial for murder. Now, we see Cisco's up to his same old shenanigans as he helped Mickey find out who really killed his former client, Sam Scales, by running down two potential witnesses who were looking to escape retribution for some shenanigans of their own that they pulled by fleeing to Mexico. And speaking of the witnesses, I thought including Emmanuel Tricky, also of Entourage fame, in a wig, playing Janine Ferrigno, the ex-girlfriend of Alex Gazarian, who ends up getting killed by his own family as the pair attempt to flee the country, was an interesting choice. I gotta be honest, guys. I love her as an actor in almost everything she does, but I wasn't sure she was right for this particular role. I just thought that there were people that maybe would have fit this role a little bit better. But it was interesting to catch up with her, just, acting wise, and just see her kind of get up to something, right? Now, I really like that the writers brought back Lisa Trammell, who apparently has been locked up since Mickey learned that she had killed her ex-husband and buried him on her property at the end of season 2. Now, she attempts to get revenge on him by painting him as this vindictive lawyer and ex-lover, but the subplot is short-lived, essentially limited to a single episode, which ultimately I thought was the right choice. And it added some spice to the season while wrapping up her character's series arc, we assume. I don't really expect to see much of her after this season because, like I said, she's kind of served her purpose, and we now see. We assumed she got arrested and locked up, but now we actually get to see for sure. And so her character arc has been concluded, and that's a wrap on her as far as I'm concerned. Now, Izzy managed to find herself a new girlfriend this season at her paralegal class. And though I'm happy for her, I think I'd rather see Izzy focus on what her professional life is going to look like exactly, even though I understand that might feel redundant as that's kind of what Lorna's doing. I just feel like for Izzy's character to truly be developed throughout the story, we need to start seeing her flourish professionally now that her dance dream has officially died on the vine. Now, my guess is she'll probably continue to work for Mickey in some way, shape, or form. Like I said, she's learning how to be a paralegal, so I assume she's just going to kind of climb the corporate ladder within Mickey's company, and that's what she's going to end up doing. I can't say if I like that or not just yet, just because I don't want to see all of Mickey's friends simply end up working for him. I do think it's kind of sweet that they love each other, they care about each other, and they're all going to come together and work together. But we'll just kind of have to see. We'll see how that goes, right? Now, Manuel Garcia-Rulfo continues to be a charismatic series lead with strong performances from the rest of the cast. Overall, I thought the writing at large was about par for the course in these procedural dramas, with the small writing being more than serviceable here. And speaking of the season plot, I knew from the very beginning that Mickey wasn't going to spend the entire season in jail, mostly because, narratively speaking, I don't think the writers would have been able to get away with a season that involved such a thing. The show works better with him out of jail, and so I understood he was going to have to get released and that he was going to get released fairly quickly. That said, I wasn't exactly a fan of Mickey going in and out of jail over the course of the season. You guys remember he ended up making bail, then new evidence came to light that he may have killed Sam Scales over money, and so now, he had to make a decision about whether or not to go back inside and get a speedy trial or to stay out and just have the situation kind of fester. And if you've seen the season, then he chose to go back inside and get a speedy trial. I didn't like that decision. I thought the writer should have simply had him start the season locked up, make bail, and then spend the rest of the season fighting for his freedom until the verdict was rendered near the end of the season finale. That's what I would have done had I written this season of the show, and I didn't really like that. And I didn't like it because it led to something else that I also did not love. I didn't like that the writers decided to kill off Legal this season in unceremonious fashion at that, because they had Mickey essentially miss the funeral because he was in jail when Legal had his heart attack. And again, like I said, I would have rather seen Legal maybe go out in the final season. I just thought it was too soon for a big loss like that, so close to home. And like I said, we didn't even get to see a funeral. We didn't really get to see how it all shook out. Like we did when Haley's friend, who was Mickey's driver, died last season. We at least kind of got to see them mourn his death and that kind of thing. This kind of felt like an out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. Now, I say that I would have written something different, but I don't know if this was just a narrative mistake. I don't know if that's what happens in the books and they were trying to stay true to the novels, or if Elliot Gould just asked to be written off the show or something like that. But like I said, I just thought that narratively it was a mistake, especially knowing that there's going to be a season 5 of the show. I might have felt differently if they had filmed season 4 having no idea if they were going to be renewed. But, And who knows? Maybe they didn't know they were going to be renewed while they were writing the scripts, because I mean these things take a long time to actually come to fruition. So knowing that the show just got renewed in January, and they probably filmed this season last year sometime, so maybe they did not know. But I digress. I thought the FBI twist was interesting. I can't say that I loved it or hated it. I was just like, okay. But I did love seeing Sasha Alexander as FBI agent Dawn Ruth. Now, that said, I did think that the FBI twist kind of presented a narrative roadblock in my mind, because I thought it was kind of ridiculous for the FBI to expect a well-known, high-powered defense attorney to simply volunteer to go to prison, maybe even for the rest of his life, simply so an FBI investigation would not be compromised. That was kind of wiggity, if you ask me. But, I guess it served its narrative purpose, right? And ultimately, we all knew that Mickey would win this case because he absolutely positively had to. This is not the kind of show where he would not have won, right? This is a show about how Mickey always wins, even when he shouldn't. I don't think he's lost a case yet, so I didn't see where this would be the first time that he would, especially since that would have meant him going to prison. And there's a whole other season to go of this show that we know of at this particular point, so you certainly weren't going to do that. This show is about the how, ultimately, and not the what. And so I just think if you're watching this TV show, and even shows like it, you have to understand that going in. And finally, I will say that the season ended with a bang, literally, when we watch Mickey in the grocery store, and this woman is kind of eyeing him down, and eventually the same woman meets him in the parking lot and saves him from being taken out by an assassin's bullet. Come to find out that this woman is his long-lost sister, played by Kobe Smulders, another actor I love to see on screen. This was certainly an interesting cliffhanger, and it certainly does get you all ginned up for next season. So mission accomplished there. And again, I haven't read the book, so I don't know if this is something that happens in the books or not, but it does kind of make me kind of excited how Mickey's sister is going to play into now this new dynamic. What's Haley going to think about having an aunt? I expect that she'll love it because she'll probably be the fun aunt or whatever. And I kind of wonder if maybe at some point next season we may even see Maggie just join Mickey's firm, move back to LA and join Mickey's firm. Because there was also conversations between Haley and her mom about how she doesn't think her mom really loves her new boyfriend. And you can kind of get the sense that the writers may be setting this thing up for a family reunion of sorts, which I'm all here for. Now, overall, I'd give this season a 75%, or a 7.5 out of 10 if you're thinking IMDb score. And here we'll go for a B- for a letter grade. This show, though again predictable for the most part, is at the very least a fairly easy watch. It's really smooth, especially with the help of Netflix making the decision to drop all the episodes in the season all at once. That way you can kind of go ahead and watch it over a weekend and kind of keep it pushing. And I think that's what makes a show like The Lincoln Lawyer better than a similar show that's running right now, like Reasonable Doubt. A show that certainly looks like it has a smaller budget, wherein you have to wait each week for the new episode. But I don't know that that particular show is good enough to just keep you coming back every week, the same time, over and over and over again. Because for me, though, I love Emi Yotzi. She's so fine. But I love her as an actor. But what I find with that show is I'll forget that episodes are dropping each week, and then I'll come back and watch them like 2 or 3 episodes at a time or something like that. Or I'll just wait till they all drop and then just go sit down and watch it over a weekend. So I like the fact that Netflix dropped all the episodes of this season all at one time. And as the show has already been renewed for a 5th season, and is surely past the midpoint of the story by now, I'm anticipating how inserting a new character in Mickey's sister, like I said, will affect the overall Holler family dynamic next season. And in anticipation of the landing of this particular plane to be sooner rather than later, I'm also expecting that landing to be just as smooth and probably as predictable as this series has been to this point. But what do you guys think? Have you had a chance to check out season 4 of The Lincoln Lawyer yet? If you have, what did you think about the decision to have Mickey spend the season fighting for his own freedom instead of fighting for the freedom of another client? What did you think about Maggie coming to the rescue? What did you think about Haley essentially going AWOL this season? What did you think about the decision to have Mickey have a long-lost sister to add to the mix? Let me know in the comments. And for those of you that might be new to the channel, be sure to like and share this video. If you really like the content, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. You can also now support the channel by leaving a super thanks. If you should be so inclined, I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, feel free to subscribe to my Reactions channel and Shorts channel for additional content. The links are in the description. In addition to that, be sure to go and check out themadScreenwriter.com for more television and film reviews and info on my upcoming film projects. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got screenplays to write. And I'll catch y'all in the next video.